A suit and a white business shirt were brought in one day to the dry cleaners where I work. Normally, I would have accepted them with a smile, asked the client what they wanted us to do with the clothes, and have them write down a few things on a slip of paper, standard procedure. This time was different. The suit and business shirt all seemed to be very familiar, and it didn't take too long for me to find out why. These clothes were definitely my husband's. He was supposed to be on a business trip, so why are they here? The woman who brought the clothes offered a credit card. When I saw the name on it, I was shocked to my very core. This was my name. What the hell is going on? This is the story of how I uncovered a mysterious reality regarding my arrogant husband and how I took measures to exact my rightful revenge on him. My name is Pamela, but everyone calls me Pam. I'm 30 years old and I'm a part-time housewife. I used to live with my husband, Franklin, who's 5 years older than me and works in an office for a textbook manufacturer enterprise. We initially met through an arranged marriage agency and started dating after chatting went very well. I quickly became infatuated with his compassion towards all things great and small, and everything he said, I felt like I learned something new and deep. His voice complemented that. He had a very deep rumble of a voice, the kind that sends vibrations through your bones and calms you down so much. We stayed together for 13 months before we got married a year ago. Franklin is a company executive with a high annual income, and he's a tall and well-educated man. I, on the other hand, started working right after graduating from high school. I couldn't keep up with the human relationships at work, being a bit of an inherent introvert, so I had no choice but to quit my first job for my own good. My mental health needed it. And after that, I lived at my parents' home while working part-time. My parents were very supportive of me regarding my life decision, but that didn't mean they weren't worried about me. They were especially concerned about my relationship status and suggested that I should register with a marrying agency. I didn't think anyone would ask me to marry them, but Franklin proved me wrong. Never had I been so happy being wrong in my life. What is it about me that makes you like me, Franklin?
I guess it's the fact that you're very down to earth. Lots of women these days only talk about their jobs and hobbies and don't take enough time to listen to the things I want to say. But you listen to me a lot, and that gives me a feeling of security. Thank you, Pam, for giving me the safety I hope to find in a relationship, and I hope I'll be by your side forever.
My parents were very happy that I married Franklin, and I was happy to be able to reassure them that I was going to be okay. Married life was peaceful at best, monotonous at worst. I would get up early, make breakfast for my husband, and wave him off to work when he left. Then I would do the laundry and clean the house. Cleaning the house was always easy because I didn't really have that many belongings inside. My personal belongings, like my clothes, bags, and accessories, were all brought by my husband, and they were all in one place, which was the bedroom closet. As for the reason why he brought all of my personal belongings, I honestly don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but when I asked him that question one day, he responded,
When you become my wife, I want you to dress appropriately. Please don't bring any of the things you used to wear before we got married. I'll take care of everything, and I'll make sure you look stunning all the time.
But I don't think anything this expensive will suit me.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. Please don't use any cosmetics without my permission, okay, Pam? Please make sure to use the ones I picked out for you. I'll give you a credit card so you can buy groceries and detergent and stuff like that, but I'll keep an eye on your statements. If you need anything else, just let me know.
Oh no, that's already more than enough. Honey, I've never spent this much on cosmetics. It could even be extravagant in my book. Thank you so much.
You should be thankful, honestly. I'm always doing you a bunch of favors after all.
Yes, I'm aware, and I really appreciate what you're doing. I've never been good at making decisions on my own, so I've completely gotten used to relying on my husband for fashion, for makeup, and for anything else that was personal. Franklin often came home late from work and had to eat dinner out. Even on weekends and vacations, he was usually away on a business trip.
I've been so busy with work and I haven't been giving you any attention. I'm so sorry for neglecting you, Pam.
Oh no, honey, it's all right. I'm sure your work is very demanding, and I understand.
I'm on the elite track at the company after all, and when you're on the path towards great success, the focus you need to achieve your goals always has to come first. And I guess it doesn't really ring any bells for you because you've been unemployed for a while.
Elite track, that's impressive.
Yeah, I guess. Oh, I almost forgot. There's a party next Saturday that'll be hosted by some affiliates of ours. I signed us both up to attend, and you have to look like the most beautiful girl there, Pam. And I'm sure that with the measures I took, that will surely become a reality. I made an appointment at a hair salon, so go here on this date and time.
Huh? Oh, okay. Thank you, Franklin.
I decided the hairstyle and color, and I let them know already, so just go with it, please. I promise you, you're gonna look amazing.
Yes, sir. In this manner, as long as I obeyed my husband and adhered to what he wished me to appear as in his loving wife, I was able to live a life without any inconvenience. But then something unexpected happened that sent all sense of safety and security with Franklin out the window and introduced a new, unwelcome sense of fear. That morning, after I'd waved him off to work as usual, I was cleaning the house. Today was the day to go to the hairdresser, as he had instructed me to do. We had that party that evening, and I had to put on the dress he had brought for me and make the preparations to be ready on time. I was feeling down, even though I hadn't been out the house in a while. In retrospect, I think the reason why I felt a bit blue was because it was right around then that I started to feel a bit overwhelmed with how underwhelming my life here really was. When you're bored, it eventually starts to infiltrate your mind, and things can seem very stressful, even though they're anything but that. The housework was easy, and Franklin brought me everything and anything I needed, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted something more, something productive, something invigorating, something to help me wake up in the morning. I was thinking about all of this when I was about to head out to the front door. That's when I accidentally caught my elbow on a half-full cup of coffee I had left out on the table that morning. The coffee fell on the hem of my dress and created a very unpleasant black stain. Oh no, what should I do? Oh, what am I going to do? I can't wear this. I panicked and changed into another dress in a hurry, and I arrived at the hairdresser just in time for my appointment. The lady who took care of my hair was so nice, and honestly, I had fun. It had been a while since I talked with someone other than Franklin, and it was a girl talk too, so that gave me a huge shot in the arm. I left the hairdresser feeling bright and looking beautiful, but first things first, I waved for a cab, told the driver where the party was being held, and all the while looked for the nearest dry cleaner. The coffee-stained dress I know was so very expensive, and I had to get the stain out as soon as possible. I looked frantically around the streets, and then I saw a small dry cleaning store. Oh, driver, can you stop here for just one moment, please? The driver kindly obliged, and I ran into the dry cleaner. An elderly woman was at the reception desk, looking at me with a disconcerting amount of dismay as I rushed into the store. Hi, I've come with a request for a stain removal, please. Oh dear, you're in such a hurry. It must be a pretty important event you're going to. Well, then let's see. Yes, the sleeve. Coffee, isn't it? Oh, no worries, honey. Everything's gonna be all right. I can take care of this. Oh, are you sure everything's going to be okay? It was so careless of me when I stained the dress. I should have been paying more attention. Oh, everyone has accidents every now and then, and it happens to the best of us, no matter how careful we're trying to be, honey. Now, you leave it to me, and I promise I'll have it as good as new in a couple of days. The elderly clerk smiled and handed me a deposit slip. Her smile made my whole body just relax, and I haven't felt such a warm smile on my face in months. I hadn't really thought about it right up until that moment. In my view, people need warmth on two levels. They need physical warmth in order to survive natural elements, and that's the most obvious. The second kind is psychological warmth, which can be provided by a variety of different sources. A smile is one. A kind word is another. But to me, the greatest source of warmth, comfort, and security is in the arms of someone I love dearly. That moment made me realize that my soul was devoid of all warmth because I hadn't received any of these from Franklin in so long. I noticed that my fingers were clutching the coffee-stained dress and had turned completely stiff, and opening my hand took a lot more effort than I thought. Oh, I'm so sorry. Please do what you can to make it as good as new. Please. Yes, my dear. You have my word. Now off you go. That outfit suggests you have somewhere really special to be right now. And you can't miss that. Now go on, have a nice night out. Don't have too much fun. And by the way, you look much better in the dress you're wearing right now. I couldn't help but smile. It's been a long time since I've even smiled so naturally, too. Up until then, I've just been forcing myself to smile all the time. I got back into the cab, feeling completely at ease. I got out of the cab at the entrance of the hotel where I was meeting Franklin, unbeknownst to the fact that I would be met with a blood-curdling horror at the party venue. I hurried to the lounge where I was told to meet him and started looking around. I found him first, approached him, and tapped him on the shoulder. And as I said, "Sorry to keep you waiting, Franklin, honey,
Oh, hey. Wait, what? What's with that outfit?
When he turned around and saw me, he suddenly started yelling at the top of his lungs at me. I was startled that I stiffened up and I found myself unable to speak. He glared at me in a frightening manner and yelled at me even more.
What the hell did I frickin' tell you? Who told you to wear these frickin' rags? I told you time and time again to wear everything I instructed you. How dare you disobey me?
His intimidating outburst drew the attention of everyone in proximity, and the hotel staff came up to him to see what was going on. My husband just sucked his teeth in annoyance and grabbed my immobilized arm and tried to pull me out of the lounge by force. Ow! I'm so sorry. I spilled coffee on my dress and... I tried my best to explain as my husband dragged me away. Right as I said that I spilled coffee on the dress he stopped moving, and he kept his back turned toward me and mumbled.
What the hell? I see now. You really went along to let me frickin' embarrass myself, huh?
I turned pale. He turned around and smiled at me. The smile itself was genuinely kind, but the crumpled forehead emphasized the look of disappointment and anger that raged on in his eyes.
Well, I'll be damned. Sorry I took things too far. You just be more careful next time, okay?
Yes, of course. After that, I don't remember what we talked about at the party or what I ate. I don't remember if I was able to make a proper response when my husband beside me spoke to me about anything. The only thing that was on my mind at that point was the perpetual replay of my husband yelling at me in a frightening manner. It was as though the man whom I'd fallen in love with had been possessed by a demon, and I will admit I was afraid he was going to do things to me that I don't even want to imagine. After that incident, Franklin's attitude toward me gradually changed.
Hey, breakfast isn't ready yet? You're a real scumbag, you know that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll be ready in a minute.
Shake a leg and get on with it.
Yes, sir. My husband's behavior has become abusive. I couldn't relax every morning before I waved him off. I had to be on full alert for fear of disappointing him. That incident had ignited a stubborn instinct of melancholic apprehension within. Anything I might do could potentially trigger him into another one of these fits, and while I was lucky to have a good reason why I had to disobey his instructions last time, such luck can run out extremely quickly in a nutshell. I was always scared whenever Franklin was home, but after he left for work, I could catch my breath and get on with my life. Then one day, I came home from shopping to find the landline ringing. I quickly picked up the phone in a panic, and my husband's angry voice rang in my ears.
Hey, where the frick have you been? Do you know how many times I called you?
I'm sorry, I was shopping.
Don't frickin' make excuses. I'm the one who's providing everything for you to frickin' live, woman. Show your husband some frickin' respect. I'm your first priority, and I come before anything else. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand. I'm sorry.
Honestly, man, unemployed women have literally no common sense. I'm calling you because I'll be home early tonight, so get dinner ready, and I need to talk to you about something.
Wait, what? What do you want to talk about? I was in the middle of asking when he hung up the phone. I cooked for my husband, who was having dinner at home with me for the first time in a long time. He came home and started eating right away. I made his favorite dish, which was pulled pork on top of cheesy mashed potatoes, so he ate it without a word of complaint.
It tasted okay. Now down to business. I'm going to have to ask you to sign these papers.
I gasped when I realized what I was looking at. The document he held out to me was none other than a divorce decree, and he had already filled it out, the section designated to the husband in the marriage. These are divorce papers?
Yes, divorce papers. Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not looking for a divorce right now.
What? Then why do I have to sign it?
This is just for when I decide to get a divorce.
When did you decide to get a divorce?
Yeah, it's more convenient than writing it down in the future when the time comes.
Convenient. As I listened to Franklin's words, which made no sense whatsoever, I felt something welling up inside me. It was something I hadn't felt in a long time, and I had the irresistible urge to scream. It took all of my willpower to keep both my head and my body from being visibly upset. I voluntarily loosened my clutching fists, I relaxed my shoulders, and I kept my voice steady. No.
Hey yo, did you just say something?
That did it. Everything I kept bottled up for the sake of staying civil overflowed with vigor.
No, I refuse! You're too selfish, Franklin!
My husband was completely taken aback by my defying him for the first time, but that only lasted briefly. He soon became furious and started yelling at me.
You little bitch. Do you understand your position here? You are freaking unemployed and you depend on me with your puny goddamn life. You are a mediocre existence that can change depending on one single thought of mine.
I'm nothing like that, but I'm also a person. How can we call ourselves husband and wife if you hold me down one way or the other like this? If you want a divorce, fine. I'll go write up those stupid divorce papers and give them back to you right now. Give me those.
I was surprised by my own courage to say what I wanted to say. My husband began to soothe me with that calming voice of his, perhaps a little jittery over my unexpected counterattack.
No, calm down. Listen, nobody said anything about getting divorced right now, Pamela.
Then what did you bring that up for? Or is there some reason you need divorce papers right now?
My question probably struck a nerve because it made my husband gasp in shock, albeit quietly. I didn't miss that reaction. And from that moment onward, I knew my relationship with him was going to come to an end very soon. I understand. All right then. No divorce papers.
What the hell? It was just an idea, Pam.
I felt a strong sense of distrust when he said it was just an idea to get me to sign the divorce papers. I decided that once and for all, I could no longer be at his beck and call. Additionally, my husband had secrets, and that was precisely why I couldn't trust him anymore, and why I was going to end things one day. The next day, he told me he had to go on a sudden business trip.
It's a long business trip, so I don't know when I'll be back, Pam. Just stay at home and wait for me. Oh yeah, I confiscated your credit card. I'll think about giving you another one again when you've had time to think about what you did yesterday.
That's what he said as he walked out the door, and this time, I didn't even bother to wave him off. I guess he wasn't too happy with my behavior that day before. He's trying to get me into financial trouble and bring me to my knees. After he left, I took a deep, deep breath. I felt so good inside. I was most surprised at myself for being able to talk back at him with such courage and vigor. I literally had him stammering by the end, and considering how I was basically his little doll to decorate, it felt amazing to stand up for myself for once. But the fact was that nothing had changed. Franklin was right about one point. He was the only reason why I was able to live with a roof over my head and with good food and water to keep me alive. I completely depended upon him for support from my husband. That limited my options, and I could either run back to my parents' house or get on my knees to beg for Franklin's forgiveness. I was about to open the refrigerator to get something to eat when I saw a slip of paper with a magnet on it. Oh, damn, the dress at the dry cleaners. I had to get it. I remembered the kind lady that I saw at the dry cleaners and hoped she was there that day. And when I arrived, I was so surprised to see that the coffee stain was gone. It had vanished as though it was never there to begin with. Wow, it came out so beautifully. This dress looks newer than new, just like she said. The male clerk at the reception desk nodded curtly at my praising. I was a little disappointed that the older woman who helped me the other day was not there. So there was an older lady at the reception desk the other day, but I'm guessing she's not here today? The male clerk explained that he was actually the owner of the establishment and that the older woman was his mother. She got sick a few days ago and was instructed to stay home and rest for a couple of days. And they were looking for a temporary part-timer, so I couldn't stop myself. I would like to work here if possible. Can I submit my resume? The clerk was taken aback by my sudden offer. However, they were very desperate in need of help, so he requested that I come back later that day to submit my resume. After lunch, I whipped up my resume, showed the clerk, and was hired immediately. I started working at the dry cleaners and learned my job diligently every day, and within 2 weeks, I was able to perform the necessary tasks to a certain extent. The next time my husband came home, I wanted to have a serious discussion about our divorce. And in order to do so, I would keep my current job, using it as a stepping stone to independence. My determination seemed to be reflected in my work, because every single day, the owner, whose name was Mr. Weber, complimented me on my performance. Then one day, a female customer came in with a suit and a white business shirt. "Can you clean these for me? They're brand name items, so please be careful with them." Now, normally, I would have accepted them with a smile and just write down the client's information, standard procedures. But this time, it was different. The suit and the business shirt all seemed too familiar to me, and it didn't take long for me to notice why. Those clothes were definitely my husband's. He was supposed to be away on a business trip, so why are they here with this woman? The woman who brought the clothes offered a credit card to pay, and when I saw the name on it, I was shocked to my very core. This card had my name on it. What the hell is going on? It was the very same credit card that Franklin had confiscated before his business trip. I glanced at the customer, and she must have been a little bit older than I was by a couple of years and had fancy makeup, nails, and luxury brand clothes. Definitely on the pretty side. Oh, wait, hang on. Is that a wedding ring I see too? You leave it to us, ma'am. If you could wait until Monday next week, I can personally deliver it to your address. Or would you rather come pick up the clothes here? I'll take delivery then. Very well, ma'am. Please fill out this form with your address and phone number. As I stared at the address the woman had filled out, I thought to myself, Franklin has been cheating on me without a doubt, and the woman whom he's been cheating on me with is standing right in front of me. So you've been contemptuous of me, and you've been lying to me, haven't you, darling? What the freak is this business trip? I will never forgive you as long as I live. Little did I know, this little revenge plan was about to take a turn in a direction I never would have expected. The following week, after they had been cleaned, I came to deliver his suit and shirt to the address she'd written on the form. It was a 2-story detached house with a garden, and when I rang the intercom, the woman answered. "Speedy Dryers, at your service, ma'am. You asked for a delivery of a luxury brand suit and a white business shirt?" "Oh, yes, I did. Won't be a moment. I'll be right down." I then let out a loud scream. I guess you heard my scream because there was a flurry of footsteps coming from inside the house. "Good heavens, what's wrong?" As soon as she opened the door, I slipped in without paying any heed to the woman's resistance.
"Oh my God, please help me, ma'am. There's a wild boar in your yard right now." "A boar?" "Yes, a boar. He came running towards us out of nowhere. Oh my God, you need to call the police." "Oh my, don't call the police yet. Franklin, darling, come here for a minute."
I made a whole fuss about calling the police, and that upset the woman, and she started shouting at someone named Franklin, who seemed to be upstairs. The stairs to the second floor were pointed up to the front of the door, and a familiar figure came clambering down.
What's going on?
"A boar! A boar! A boar came into our yard, Franklin!"
A boar? There ain't no way.
My husband looked downstairs toward the entrance, and his eyes met mine. He was so startled by my presence that he lost his balance and fell down the stairs. He hit the bottom of the stairs with a loud thud, and his groaning was combined with a woman's scream. I was startled to see my husband groaning at my feet. Although he couldn't speak, Franklin glared at me with wide, ominous eyes. I could tell he wanted to say something like, "What the frick are you doing here, bitch?" And I glared back at him, making sure my eyes expressed the unfathomable rage I was feeling. The woman clung to him as she screamed. I went to her and tapped her on the shoulder. "You'd better call an ambulance." I'd better call an ambulance." "I'll take the clothes upstairs. Will that be okay?"
Don't, no!
Franklin's war cry was drowned out by the woman screaming to the 911 operator.
There's an injured man right here. He's my sweetheart, so please come quickly. That's right. And there's a wild boar here too, so please send the police to help us."
Perhaps her panic really helped the operator understand the sheer severity of the situation, and as soon as sirens could be heard approaching, and before long, an ambulance arrived with 2 police cars. The policemen ran toward where the boar supposedly disappeared. As the paramedics carried Franklin out on a stretcher, the head medic looked to me and the woman in turn before saying to the other woman,
Please come with us, ma'am.
The woman turned away. I explained, "She is not the man's wife."
Oh? Then I suppose you are, ma'am?
"My apologies, but I can't accompany him because as of now, I am no longer his wife." Franklin turned his head when I said that.
What?
I had taken the divorce papers from my husband's luggage upstairs when I went and left the clothes in his room. I fluttered it in front of his face. He groaned maliciously and fainted. The head medic sensed things between the 3 of us were very complicated and gave me one last glance, then nodded. I nodded back. Franklin was then carried away in the ambulance all by himself. After that, while he was in the hospital, I heard from him very frequently.
What the frick do you think you're doing not taking care of me?
He was as self-centered as ever. He had apparently broken both of his ankles in his admittedly terrible fall down from the stairs, and both of his legs were in casts. I have work to do. I don't have time to take care of a man who's been cheating on me.
Bullshit! You really think you can make enough of a frickin' living by working a lowly part-time job like that?
Yeah, and do you even know what you're doing with that woman? Yeah, that's right. That woman, your lover, is none other than the wife of your boss, one Mr. Hendricks McAdams.
What?
Yes, indeed. My husband was having an affair with his boss, while Mr. McAdams was working alone in another part of the country. He thought he was doing a good job of hiding it from me by taking advantage of my obedient ass, who never dared to disobey his instructions. Like you said, I'm just a lowly suck-up part-timer, and maybe telling you this is not the status quo here. But you're going to be unemployed. Mr. McAdams is going to find out that you're playing around with his wife, and your ass is going to be out of a job by the end of the month. I hope you'll be able to make a decent living thereafter. Mr. Ferns, it's over for you. I moved back to my parents' home and divorced my husband. I filed for alimony, and I made the woman whom he cheated on me with pay me alimony as well. She had apparently thought Mr. Ferns had already divorced me, claiming he cleverly used the divorce papers as a means to ensnare her in his seductive ways. While it may be a compelling argument, it never held up in the court because there was no official evidence to support her claims. She was also deemed guilty of adultery, and combined, I received the handsome amount of $80,000 in damages. And at the end of the day, everyone could think it was just a bunch of self-centered excuses between cheaters of society. Mr. Ferns was no longer able to stay at the company afterwards, and although he managed to avoid getting fired, he was sent to a branch office in the countryside. Mr. McAdams evidently discovered his wife had been having an affair, and after divorcing her, he sent her on her way back to her parents' home, with the ever-haunting feelings of shame, disappointment, and grief for all of her actions. Good riddance. As for me, I still work at the same dry cleaners. Miss Weber, the kind elderly lady who helped me with the coffee stain, was feeling a whole lot better after a couple of days and returned to work. With some technical guidance, I'm now able to do the ironing to quite a degree of proficiency. To quote her charming son, I'd always thought Speedy Dryer was a small store, but it was in fact very famous for Mr. Weber's top-notch stain removal expertise. I did some quick research, and public comments that mentioned a problem with stains of any kind, mud, ketchup, oil, coffee, chocolate, marker, blood, and anything else conceivably imaginable, all showed a heap of satisfaction for his services. I've been living in self-hatred my whole married life, but now I feel so lucky to have found a good job with good people like this. I'm going to work hard here to try and become an independent person, and hopefully become mentally secure enough to find a better man with whom to have children and live a very full and happy life.